Thank you, Senator Carper. Because Senator Portman isn't back yet, I'm going to recognize myself for a round of questions, and I want to thank Chair Peters and the ranking member for this hearing, and I also want to thank the three of you not only for your service but for your testimony today and your commitment to improving the country's cybersecurity. My first question goes to Directors Easterly and Inglis, and I'll start with Director Easterly. One of the biggest impediments to improving cybersecurity is the shortage of qualified cybersecurity professionals at a federal, state, and local level. So I've introduced, along with Senator Cornyn, the Bipartisan Federal Cybersecurity Workforce Expansion Act. The act would authorize a registered cybersecurity apprenticeship program at Sysa, and it would also create a veteran cybersecurity training program at the Department of Veterans Affairs. So, Director Easterly, how would an apprenticeship program help address workforce challenges at Sysa?
Thanks for the question. I love that. I love apprenticeships. We've already started talking about how we could implement apprenticeships at Sysa. I would love to work with you on that legislation. I think we need to be as creative as possible in all our approaches to deal with the deficit that we have across the country and then across the federal cyber workforce. So programs like rotational programs, apprenticeships, internships, and I'm very excited in particular about implementing our cyber talent management system finally to enable us to more flexibly hire people from all walks of life, basically based on their aptitude, not based on certifications or degrees. So anything to do with workforce, Senator, I would love to work with you and your team in this committee.
Great, I would look forward to that. Director Inglis, what do you think of cyber apprenticeships in a veterans training program, and are there other ways we can increase the talent pipeline to build a larger cybersecurity workforce?
Senator, once again, I'm in a position where happily I agree strongly with both the premise that you've established and Director Easterly's remarks. I think apprenticeships are essential, not simply because they provide experience for its own sake, but they bridge the gap between aspiration that is often supported by training and education and the real experience that employers need or want when you show up at that door. And it helps to transition from one phase to another in terms of one's work life. To the extent that that's something we can pilot at Sysa or within the Veterans Administration or other places, I would hope that we make that broadly available to the rest of government. Yeah. As to what else we can do, I think that it falls into three broad buckets, which are not unrelated. We need to increase awareness so that every citizen, every person who kind of experiences cyberspace has what's necessary to cross the digital cyber street in the same way that we teach children to cross actual streets, and that they're aware of the opportunities in this space. We need to make sure that we invest some more training and education in those who make decisions that implicate cybersecurity, but they don't know it, whether they're lawyers or logisticians or system engineers. And then, of course, we need to double down on filling the jobs that have cyber and IT in their job title, but we need to be as broad-based as possible. To Ms. Easterly's point, we need to encourage diversity because that's a mission-essential strength. But at the same time, let's relook those job skills to make sure we're asking for the right things. You don't need a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science for every one of those jobs.
Thank you very much. Director Easterly, the Office of Management and Budget recently released a draft Zero Trust strategy, and it was nice to hear Mr. DeRusha talk about it. It states that the Continuous Diagnostics and Mitigation, or CDM program run by Sysa, is a foundational element of the federal government's cybersecurity. I introduced legislation with Senator Cornyn last Congress to codify the program, and we're working on reintroducing CDM legislation this Congress. When do you expect all civilian federal agencies to have their electronic assets inventoried and continuously monitored via CDM?
Thanks for the question. It's a great one, and having a lot of experience in this space, and certainly in the private sector, asset inventories and ensuring that you know exactly what's in your network is not a trivial endeavor. All that said, I'm told that we're at about 85% of an understanding of the federal endpoints, and so I think we will get there in the near term, and I'm happy to keep you updated on the course of our progress.
Okay, and a related issue, of course, is whether Sysa is reevaluating previously approved CDM tools to ensure that they still meet the newest best practices and our Zero Trust strategy. So Is that happening as well?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely, as part of our entire modernization effort to make sure that we are able to provision the right capabilities through the CDM program. And some of the most important ones, as you're aware of, are our EDR capabilities, the endpoint detection and response.
Okay. Another question for you, Director Easterly. Next week, I'm going to lead a subcommittee hearing on the federal government's IT management resources, the services available to agencies to modernize their aging systems, and ways to improve those programs while also saving taxpayers' money. And Mr. DeRusha, I am looking forward to hearing from your colleague, Federal Chief Information Officer Claire Martorana, on this topic. An important aspect of ensuring the cybersecurity of federal systems is modernizing outdated and obsolete IT systems, which are difficult, if not impossible, to properly secure. So, Director Easterly, how is Sysa supporting agency efforts to modernize their aging IT systems to improve cybersecurity?
We are taking a very aggressive approach because we understand the urgency here. That said, Senator, this is a very complex endeavor dealing with years and years of legacy systems. It's why, as my colleague, Mr. DeRusha, mentioned, the TMF fund is so important to enable that modernization. So we are working hand in hand with departments and agencies to ensure that they have the capabilities that they need to enable them to build out networks in a different way. And it really goes to the zero trust architecture, the secure cloud systems, the maturity model. We're pushing as hard as we can, Senator. It's a big project, and it's really one of the reasons why I'm excited about FISMA reform, because we need to ensure that we can do this the right way and secure an enterprise, not 102 separate departments and agencies.
Well, thank you. Last question for you. I was delighted to hear your testimony and by the recent announcement from Sysa about the Joint Cyber Defense Collaborative, or JD. Let me make sure I have my acronym, JCDC.
It's like ACDC.
I know, yes, except not, but yes. So it's intended to improve planning, information sharing, and collaboration among interagency, intergovernmental, and private sector partners. However, several of our critical infrastructure sectors, particularly the healthcare and education sectors, are severely under-resourced when it comes to cybersecurity, especially compared to the JCDC's initial private sector partners. What lessons is Sysa learning from its initial industry collaborations that will help it and the JCDC support healthcare, education, and other sectors that are often under-resourced? And I see that I'm over time, so if you can make your answer brief, I can follow up with you as well.
I'll do my best. The whole idea of those initial plank holders were those who had massive visibility so they could drive action at scale, Senator. So the fact that we have the CSPs, the ISPs, the cybersecurity vendors that see the dots so we can connect them will allow us to have that information and provide it to the other critical infrastructure sectors so that we can help healthcare and education and all of the what I would call target-rich, sometimes resource-poor sectors. So they will accrue benefit from what we are building in the JCDC.
Thank you very much. Senator Portman.